Child Emperor's biggest strength is his intelligence. He's regarded as an unparalleled intellect within the Hero Association and is put in command of the entire S-Class during the Monster Association crisis. By the age of 10, he'd already become S-Class, was a lab assistant to arguably the greatest engineering genius in the world, Metal Knight, and even a cram school professor. We can compare this to a real-world child genius, alias Sabur. Sabur, who became a black belt at age 9, graduated university at age 14, and was a first grader with an IQ off the charts, became a professor when she was 19. Child Emperor, like some Sheldon Cooper looking ass.
Near apogee, we gimbal the engine to exert a torque that executes a pitch-over maneuver to flip the rocket by 180 degrees.
Child Emperor became a professor at almost half that age, so you can imagine that even in terms of raw IQ, he's more than likely smarter than any person in the real world, even if you take away the Japanese cartoon mechs. We can also infer that Child Emperor is likely the smartest hero based on this as well, including genius fighters like Flashy Flash, Genos, and Death Gatling. However, if you take this statement holistically to include everyone in the One Punch Man world, Child Emperor may have greater abilities than Dr. Genus, who created the extremely powerful Carnage Kabuto, a monster who could tussle with Darkshine. Not that Child Emperor is capable of creating mechs that powerful yet, just to speak to his overall IQ and potential. Due to his intelligence, many of Child Emperor's adult peers and even superiors look to him to solve problems. Unironically, the gifted kid meme, and he becomes overburdened by the stress of essentially controlling walking, talking nukes. The hero can barely even get sleep in the developing years of his life, and instead spends the time fighting life or death battles while the adults hang out with chicks. Despite his physical strength, which is apparently enough to wrestle a grizzly bear, Child Emperor's main abilities are his wide arsenal of gadgets and technology, as he himself says. Unfortunately, for much of the series, Child Emperor doesn't do much. We only see glimpses of his technological genius, such as how his underdog man combated the poisonous monster, or the Dragon Ball Z Scouter ripoff he built, but we don't actually see him in action until he fights the powerful monster Phoenix Man. As Child Emperor dives into the Monster Association hideout, he finds the monster Phoenix Man. This monster, which had before sent Bang, Bomb, and Genos flying with the flap of his wings, attempts to take down the hero, but Child Emperor sets up an invisible wall before Phoenix Man can even realize, which Phoenix Man can't even scratch with his beak attack. He then uses his backpack, unleashing an array of blades, shredding Phoenix Man to pieces. Now, usually defeating some random demon level monster wouldn't be worth mentioning, it's literally the bare minimum requirements of S-Class, but like I said earlier, when you really break it down, this is actually surprisingly impressive. Phoenix Man tells Child Emperor that among the monsters he is rather high ranked, around middle management as he likes to call it. This seems consistent with his role, as Giro Giro trusts him to recruit the Hero Hunter, a task we only see very powerful Cadre ranked monsters do, and he's the only non-Cadre aside from Bug God who we see entrusted to face an S-Class hero. Bug God, being the same monster who Giro Giro tasked with facing the Hero Hunter, is another extremely powerful monster. This paints the idea that Phoenix Man has a very high position in the Monster Association, likely being superior to Bug God, Royal Ripper, and the other demon level monsters. And seeing as the hierarchy of the Monster Association is based on power, that would make Phoenix Man, even before his transformation, very powerful. For those of you who are a little skeptical, each volume has a little descriptive summary which sums up the events of the previous chapters. And the text on volume 22 says this: Class S hero Child Emperor squared off against the monster big shot known as Phoenix Man, overwhelming him with the power of his technology, but Phoenix Man overcame death and evolved. Big Shot is the Viz translations version of Cadre, and alternate translations all say essentially the same thing. One possible counter-argument is the Big Shot statement is saying that Phoenix Man becomes Cadre level when he is resurrected, as shown by him being level Dragon, which all Dragon level monsters are Cadres. This argument is pretty disingenuous in my opinion, as the Big Shot statement is clearly made in reference to before he transforms, and the additional evidence that he is higher ranked among the level demons. This makes Child Emperor seem all the more impressive, as he stomps a monster perhaps stronger than Bug God or any other demon level monster with the equivalent of a candy wrapper. This would mean Child Emperor would stomp Bug God, Doe-S, Royal Ripper, Awakened Cockroach, Devil Longhair, Rhino Wrestler, and many, many more, using nothing more than his backpack and his invisible barriers. He then runs into the robot G5, an upgraded version of the robot which nearly defeated Genos earlier in the series. While Child Emperor is wary of the robot, he doesn't think victory is impossible and simply thinks it would take too long, especially with him protecting Waganma. G5 was confident he could take down Royal Ripper, the same monster who would duke it out with Garo in his human form and even be strong enough to stab through a partially monsterized Garo's stomach later. G5 has an ability to sense energy signatures much like Genos, and while we don't know if he can exactly measure them just the same as Genos, if he can, it would support Child Emperor being above top tier demons even without his brave giant mech suit. While trying to escape, Child Emperor and Waganma run into Phoenix Man's dead body, we learn the extended lore of a kid's cartoon, which sounds kinda like my job, and resurrected Phoenix Man is born, threat level dragon. With this explosive power-up, Phoenix Man tests his new strength by completely shattering 5 of Child Emperor's invisible barriers, whereas before he couldn't so much as scratch a single one with his strongest demon level strength. He goes so far as to say he is the absolute strongest being period, as he stomps Child Emperor and even kind of bullies him. Child Emperor, regretting his failure and weakness, calls upon his ultimate weapon, the Brave Giant. This weapon, which he originally planned to use on the Monster King himself, is the culmination of all his scientific knowledge and his ultimate trump card. He'd immediately use the Brave Giant to send Phoenix Man flying, the same Phoenix Man who's over 5 times stronger than any single demon level monster in the association. I'm really gonna keep hammering that in. The two would continue to go back and forth, clashing with one another, and Phoenix Man resorting to his many different transformations. At one point, Phoenix Man needs both hands at his full power just to stop Brave Giant's punch, yet Child Emperor can still completely overpower him by releasing Brave Giant's limiters. In the end, Phoenix Man decided to summon an army of subterranean zombies to help him dismantle Brave Giant, implying that he thought it would be too much trouble. This is despite the fact he already knew Brave Giant had a reduced time limit, and that he was still protecting Waganma the entire time. Considering Phoenix Man was already basically the strongest demon level monster in the association, and received an overwhelming power up of over 5 times, if not way more, it's fair to say that Phoenix Man would at least be cadre level by definition. It's also all the more insane when you look at some of the things that lesser demon level monsters can do, and that this version of Phoenix Man would dwarf all of those powers. Throughout the battle, we explore more of Child Emperor's psyche, the effects of stress, and that all he really wanted was to be appreciated. Phoenix Man attempts to ally Child Emperor, believe they are both kindred spirits overburdened by their dedication. However, Phoenix Man had misplaced his dedication onto his costume. Child Emperor resolves himself when Zombie Man thanks Child Emperor for all his hard work. Child Emperor then becomes stronger on the inside by self-destructing and removing Brave Giant, a symbol of his stress, emphasized by the extremely short time limit and his tendency to be overly cautious. Using the distraction gained from self-destructing and a little help from Saitama, Child Emperor defeats Phoenix Man with the Tickle Bug, a weapon which symbolizes Child Emperor's more youthful and simplistic nature, which literally tickles the opponent into suffocation. This battle shows pretty clearly Child Emperor can face cadre tier opponents, as well as being a nice little bow on what his character represents. Later, he'd even go on to dodge water blasts from another cadre, supporting this notion. Overall, Child Emperor is an extremely powerful fighter even when he's not using Brave Giant. He'd pretty much demolish any demon level monster in the entire series using nothing but his backpack and barrier gadgets. And with Brave Giant, he can duke it out with cadre level monsters. Combined with his wide arsenal of blades, cannons, barriers, and poisons, he's an extremely well-rounded fighter as well and can deal with many strange abilities. I mean, what would have happened if Darkshine ran into Sludge Jellyfish who can just regenerate and reform his body? What if Flashy Flash ran into Phoenix Man and he kept endlessly resurrecting himself? Child Emperor is truly unique in that sense in how he overcomes his opponents. It makes you wonder how he'd deal with the many other heroes of the S-Class, maybe knock Darkshine out with sleeping gas, or use the Tickle Bug to cancel out Metalbat's fighting spirit. If you're curious about how Child Emperor stacks up to the other heroes, check out my S-Class ranking video once you're done here, and I'll see you next time.